Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the book we are going to review, again, a landmark book written by a person who has worked in NASA himself, Ozan Varol, Think Like a Rocket Scientist. By way of introduction, I am Khurram Zahir Chishti. I am a certified NLP coach, particularly focusing on the brain coach aspect, and that's why this book is of personal importance to me. Here's the book, Think Like a Rocket Scientist, highly recommended to read, review, and digest. This is the book, how the book cover looks like, and I will throw light on some various techniques which we can apply practically in our day to day lives. So let's start. First of all, the core idea of this book, the strategic depth that it gives, we all think, but what is it to think like a rocket scientist? So, first of all, superior outcomes are driven by superior thinking systems, not superior effort. Thinking always precedes the effort. You think better, you apply better, you make better efforts. Deeper interpretation is that most organizations optimize for efficiency. They just want to get the work done as quickly as possible and in as low cost as possible. But rocket scientists optimize accuracy under uncertainty. We all live in an age of uncertainty. Rocket science have far more uncertainty and far more stakes. So they have to have a type of thinking which is accurate under extreme uncertainty. Applying to banking, efficiency means faster approvals, accuracy means better risk adjusted returns. Key insight here is that the top performers don't just solve problems, they define the problem better, do a better root cause analysis, and question whether it is the right problem to answer. Moving on, the three-stage model, which every rocket does, you launch, you accelerate, you achieve. So let's see what this model has in store for us and what it really means when you say launch, accelerate, achieve. This phrase is about breaking the cognitive rigidity. Most professionals, we suffer from a confirmation bias, always looking for things which are in conformity with what we are doing, always looking for evidence which is in line with what you are doing. We are always doing in line with what the institutional is thinking, and our statement, our uh, rock solid statement, we've always done it this way. But how rocket scientists differ? They suspend judgment, encourage unconventional ideas, and separate idea generation from evaluation. And how this applies to our work? Innovation does not fail because of bad ideas, it fails because good ideas are killed too soon. And let's go into each of them. Accelerate, what does it mean? Intelligent experimentation. Try to understand, okay, in science, in rocket science particularly, even in banking, it's not just trial and error, it is structured experimentation, i.e., you learn at every stage and you improve the next step. Rocket scientists design tests to disapprove hypothesis, focus on learning speed, not success rate. They are not very concerned with whether they have 100% success rate, 200% success rate. They learn from every step and apply it. And in banking, instead of full exposure, we pilot limits, we give them small limits, see how they do. Conditional approvals, we just don't give blanket approval, we approve based on certain terms and conditions and covenants. And we put some primary structured covenants against you, ring fence a facility, put facility specific covenants. Then key principle is the goal is not to be right, the goal is to reduce uncertainty. Then third, achieve scaling with feedback. You just don't scale, make yourself large, you incorporate the feedback which you got based on your failures. Execution is not linear, it is iterative. Rocket scientists continuously and consistently adjust trajectory, expect deviation, and build feedback loops. Applying it to banking, Portfolio monitoring and trajectory corrections are very important, and early warning signals to be implemented in the system. Now we come to the 9 principles which this book talks about and how we can practically apply this in our life. Embrace uncertainty. First of all, you have to know that you will not have 100% of the information 100% correct way 100% of the time. You have to live with some uncertain aspects for which you have to take calculated risk. Here the deep insight is uncertainty is not risk, it is unqualified opportunity. Most institutions avoid uncertainty and this leads to stagnation. On the other hand, rocket scientists they convert uncertainty and into a structured risk and benefit off of it. For banking, the emerging ESG sectors look risky. Why? Because we don't have historical data, but risk can be mitigated through proper structuring, pricing, and monitoring. And bottom line is avoiding uncertainty does not reduce risk; it eliminates the upside. Next is the first principle thinking. This is instead of saying I've always done it this way, go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. Insight here is that it's not about it, this is about deconstructing reality. Instead of what happened before, what worked before, ask what must be true for this to work. For example, in banking, if a revenue has increased, so either the price may have increased, or volume may have increased, or both may have increased, and vice versa. Similarly, if a cash flow improves, then it should impact the operating cycle in a positive manner. So, question the basic things that you are seeing. It's not what has been done, what is being done. You ask, I mean, for example, if the customer has made a loss, then either he has made the revenues less revenue than previous year, or the expenses have gone up, or both have moved in other directions. So templates usually creates lazy thinking and formatted thinking. So instead of doing the formatted way, just work yourself backwards. Okay, what should be true for this particular aspect to come into play? Next is always question the assumptions. You may have heard this many times. But in terms of rocket scientists, why is it important? The hidden reality is that most decisions are based on industry norms, legacy decisions, and unchallenged beliefs. However, this may you may be not be able to fully optimize the opportunity. In order to do it, we say in banking the sector is too risky, the structure is standard, but unvalidated assumptions disguise the facts, and the biggest risk sits in assumptions nobody questions. Thought experiments. What this really is simulation without cost. Where it is used, stress testing, strategic foresights. For example, what if the rates spike by 200 bips if this supplier fails? And this is essentially scenario planning, reverse stress testing. Advanced insight is thought experiments improve your judgment and speed of decision making. Divergent thinking. What this means is that high performers explore the option space before narrowing. There is not just a right and a wrong decision, black and white. More professional, we converge too early to save the time, to just follow the format. But in credit, instead of approved and reject, you could restructure, reduce limits, add collateral, change tenor, and quality of decision depends on the quality of alternatives available. Instead of just putting white and black, let's have more options available. Reframing problems. What it essentially means is that problem definitions determine solution quality. How you define the problem goes a long way to determine the solution we come up with. For example, bad framing, client is risky, and better framing would be client risk lies in cash flow volatility. So, how do we mitigate it? Power move in leadership. Reframe discussion, shift narratives. to reframe problem and to make use of opportunity available. Test relentlessly. Test relentlessly. Don't just take an ideas, just one or two options available and you full stop. No. Your ideas are provisional, not professional. Rocket scientists seek disconfirming evidence. In banking, don't rely on projections. Validate through actual cash flows, account conduct, and market feedback. Executive insight would be confidence should come from testing and not experience. Do thought experiments, test situation, just not rely on that somebody has a similar situation in the past 10 years back. Anyway, the situation changes a lot. Then comes inversion thinking, a very important part. This primarily means instead of going from A to Z, try to think of Z and come back to A. Instead of asking how do we succeed, ask how do we fail. This reveals hidden vulnerabilities, blind spots. And in our role, what we can do liquidity test, fraud risk, and concentration risk. And this was a very popular way with Charlie Munger, who was the right hand man of Warren Buffett, applied in his case. Instead of asking how do we succeed, we just think of the vulnerabilities and think of the possibilities where we can go wrong. Learning from failure, again, it has been repeated many times in many forums from everywhere. But what is different is that a rocket scientist, instead of taking failure, just recording it, which banks do, which many people do, they just record it, see what the lessons learned are on a superficial level. Rocket scientists actually do a very detailed post-mortem analysis. For example, in banks, NLPs are often done very superficially. However, they should be forensic evidence should be done and brutally honest about what has gone wrong. Failure is expensive only if you don't learn from it. So this brings me to the end of my presentations and hope we have taken some valuable insights for our practical applications. Thank you. Please follow my channel.